Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So we're finally on the fourth and final True Wind Spirit, and so this one's called Kari. This one's a lot tougher than the other three, only because there's a lot more RNG. The reason for that is that this boss is extremely quick, quicker than any of the other three, and even with Judgment slowing down the boss by 50%, and Mario being in the high 200 speed level, sometimes the boss actually outspeeds our team, in which case we can't rotate Radius in, thereby not, for example, establishing Wind Zone, or in the case where Judgment doesn't apply earlier because Renri doesn't get to hit it first, we get team wiped. And so I actually had to redo this boss a few times, being that even half the time Radius didn't even get swapped in on turn 1 by Mario. So if you watched my fight against the Earth True Spirit, the rotation is actually very, very similar to this one. We are using the same team, which is Yuri, Elga Manifest, Renri Manifest, 2 Slash Zone Setters, as well as Mario. And so just like before, it's a 6 turn fixed rotation. There are 2 HP stoppers, and we can just hit the first HP stopper. Keep in mind that you really want to guarantee applying Elemental Barrier with Radius on during the AF, and the reason for that is that way she kicks away, as in the boss kicks away Radius, and so you can control the situation a lot more. Now, one good thing about this particular boss is the minions are actually weak to Slash, and since we have a whole Slash team, we can actually end those mobs a lot faster, because just as a reminder, on turn 4, if you haven't gotten rid of the mobs, they will re-establish Wind Zone and you're just going to lose. So turn 1 is a kickback move, turn 2 is essentially Wind Physical AoE, turn 3 is a 99% reduction in HP, doesn't kill you, turn 4 is a mega magical AoE, turn 5 is a single target elemental physical attack plus confusion status, and turn 6 is a fixed 1800 damage non-elemental, and you can't reduce that at all. So the number one thing I would recommend is definitely having someone like Mario come in and VC in an elemental shield so that you don't die on turn 2, and making sure you can either heal throughout the phase, this is the second and longest phase, or in the case of the first phase, you can actually bar before turn 4 ends, as at the start of turn 4, you bar so that you can reset the phase. Because once the phase is reset, it goes back to turn 1, in which case you will survive for at least one turn, being that the first turn is a kickback motion, the mobs don't do attacks. Now against some of the other elemental spirits, I believe the Earth one does attacks, so you do have to be watching out for that. Now you can see we are on turn 5, we got hit by that single target DPS plus confusion status. If you do already have Mario up front, in which case you can see the rotation is such so that I had enough damage to kill off the 2 mobs, then we can use that to remove the confusion status, and you'll see why later on in this video actually. So like I said before, this one has a lot of RNG. The good thing about this particular team up setup is that Yuri also has a heal, and of course we do have multiple characters doing the same role just in case. We have the Aurora Force from Elemental Barrier from Radius, just in case, for example. We do have, like I said, healing from Yuri, and we also have 2 Slash Zones just in case something else happens along the way. Now, the one other thing I want to mention is you really want to activate your large AF on turn 6, because if you activate it on any other turn, it does have an elemental shield, and you can see that white symbol there with a shield. That means that your damage is going to do less. So you do really want to watch out for that, and I do find that's the easiest way to kind of end the battle, is to do a large AF on turn 6. Otherwise, in this case, we're just going to stall the battle a little bit more and try to get to that phase, making sure that we have enough MP. One other thing to note is that given that you are using Renri in this case to apply the speed down, which is extremely important in this phase, you do not want the debuffs to go away. Note that as long as the 3 debuffs are in place, which are obviously solid, I guess, red color, then you're fine. If you have them flashing, make sure you reapply it, because if you don't and it fades off, like in this case, you have to apply Judgment right here. If it fades off, you will not outspeed Kari, and it will just wipe you. So that is very, very important to know. Also, at times, I found that the second turn or fourth turn rotation, those AoE wind attacks, for some reason, my Elga died, and I wasn't even sure because I actually had the int power down, plus I had elemental shield up. So I'm not sure if they has a chance to crit, and being that Elga is actually an earth-based unit, remember that wind has the advantage over earth. I'm not sure if she takes more damage than other characters. So just keep that in mind as well. I noticed that among my trials of battling. In turn 5, I also didn't mention that they do a disenchant, so that removes all buffs and debuffs from your team, and so make sure you reapply, especially in the case of Binary Drive, to speed up your Elga, Zero Wolf Strike to speed up and power up your Yuri, for example, and of course if you are having Crest up front using the Distortion Blade to power up all Katana and Sword users by 40%, make sure you reapply it, because if you do it wrong or don't have it all applied, you might have to apply those moves and buffs during the AF, in which case it might slow down your damage and not give you enough chance to do enough damage to end the game. Just like here, this is a large AF, we're going to do a bunch of damage. Keep in mind that the Divine Wolf Storm from Yuri allows 50% crit rate up, essentially allowing all those extra crits to attack, so that we're doing tons and tons and tons of damage, which without Yuri, we might not have done enough damage to push it into the third and final phase. Also, Elemental Barrier was cast by Radius to make sure that the rage is on her, so that Kari can kick her away, Radius, and then we will re-establish zone using Yuri, because Yuri should be the fastest one on our team once you get 3 stacks of those speed and power boosts from his spam, his Azure Wolf Blade in the second middle slot. I use all my far right moves as a spam. I know some people use the far left. Doesn't really matter, as long as you have a dedicated area to guarantee which one you want to do it on. So since we have 2 zone setters, we can use Crest just like before, and make sure that we do have a zone back in place so that we can first of all reduce damage by Kari, because obviously if you have Wind Zone active, her attacks will do 50% more, in which case you'll probably die. We also using Quattro Blade, and being that the enemy is weak to slash, we have a chance of killing off those mobs before they kill us off or continue boosting Kari. Okay, so Judgment is still on. You can see those 3 icons are still red and still not flashing. We're going to use dedicated attacks, Demonic Tiger Blade to keep on hitting it. There we go, Quattro ends it. And with these tougher bosses and tougher fights, make sure you look at your own team as well as the enemy's team to make sure that the symbols are not fading, for example, or your buffs have not been removed by, for example, a disenchant, or you just neglected to reapply shields or healing. I've had many fights fail because I forgot to place a well-timed Aurora Force, for example, or just my debuffs and buffs faded, so I didn't do enough AF damage, for example, or the enemy just out-damaged me. So keep that in mind as well. I mean, it's easy to watch MP and HP, but it's harder to remember multiple debuffs and buffs, especially when the boss is hard and you're kind of under a high stress situation. For myself, I don't know about you guys, but especially the fact that I'm recording, I really try not to mess it up, because it's a lot of work to have to redo the fight over and over again. Okay, so turn 5 is right here. We have Elga being confused, unfortunately, but keep in mind that turn 6 is fixed 1800 damage, and we don't have anyone under 1800. So as long as we rotate in Radius and turn 6 and have Distortion Blade, we're going to win the game here. And no, we didn't. Quattro Drive on herself essentially wiped out that one character. That is the nature of RNG. I mean, you don't know if she's going to do any sort of weird attack or just nothing. In this case, she killed herself, and that's just really too bad. So unfortunately, at this point, I'm forced to do an AF with just 3 characters and hoping it'll be enough. I will say that I did on purpose move out Yuri to the front line, because those extra crit hits, even with only Redry and not Elga in play, those 1 million hits will bring down the boss, I hope. The final phase has about 20 million-ish, and so yeah, we barely made it. 21 million to be exact. Oh, that was a tough one. Let me know in the comments below if you have fought any or all of the fights, and which one you found more difficult. I will also say that a slash team with multiple zones and healing is a lot more flexible in handling fights than, for example, an elemental based team. I actually redid the water one, because the first one I fought with the water one, I used an elemental earth team with AS Myris, Mayumpha, and so on and so forth with Zone. I found this one was much easier. That one took hours to prepare and practice, and very slim margin of victory. Whereas this one felt like, other than the RNG component, much more doable and much more repeatable. So hopefully this video helps you out and beat the 4 bosses. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.